Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I am joined by the wonderful Katie Smith, who is lined up to be one of the two mission area leads for Greater Manchester Plus. Katie, would you like to tell us a little bit about you, about your ministry, about where you are at the moment?
Thank you, Tori. Yes, I'm Katie. I grew up in the Methodist Church. I grew up in Knutsford, going to Knutsford Methodist, which is Alan Bradley's church. So that's an interesting connection. And my first career, I went at the end of school, I went up to St Andrews in Scotland to university to do a maths degree. And I liked it so much, I stayed on and did a PhD in mathematical modelling, from which I then came down to Stockport and I worked at a company. And for 21 years, I sat at a computer and developed algorithms to process data. Um, but God turned out to have other ideas for my life. And even though that was interesting and good, I really started to feel that nudge of God saying there is something else. I got involved in Bramwell Methodist Church in a whole variety of ways, leading the youth fellowship, being a steward, and through that got involved in the Imagine project, which really started to nudge me into doing new things, doing a slot in worship, and then eventually worship leading and preaching there. And I thought, oh, that's all right, God, I've done what you wanted. I'm preaching now. And God then started to nudge a bit more, and I was called to candidate for the ministry, and I was accepted for training. And I actually came into ministry in September 2020, at which point I was stationed here in the United Stockport Circuit. Ministry so far has been interesting. I came into it in the middle of a pandemic. So as I came into ministry, we were just about allowed to meet, but not to sing or take communion or have a cup of coffee or do anything that really sits around beyond just having a little listen really to a sermon. So it's been a really interesting time to come in. And of course, we all know that the pandemic has also accelerated some of the things that were going on with the change that's needed in the church and within our circuit, and I'm sure within many other circuits. We're trying really to work out, what is this thing going to look like? How do we find what church needs to be to really spread the gospel in the 21st century and in the kind of society that we live in now?
Amazing, thank you so much. My personal favourite question that I get to ask you today, do you have an interesting fact, something that you'd like to share that people may not know about you?
Okay, so the first thing is about travel really and relates to my maths background. My PhD was about modelling the interaction of the solar wind with the Earth's magnetic field. And I was in a research group that did a lot of research into the sun's corona in various ways. So I always had it on my list to go and see a total eclipse of the sun. And in 2017, as a family, we went to South Carolina and we were really lucky. We gathered with masses of people in a small town there and watched the moon cross the face of the sun. And it's a really incredible experience because you see the outer layer of the sun, you see things that you just cannot see normally. And the world goes dark for those 2 or 3 minutes. And then it comes back and you just think like, wow, creation is so much more amazing than we actually understand when we just look at it at face value. The other thing that you might find interesting or perhaps just find amusing about me is that one of my leisure activities is that I go tap dancing. So I have a weekly class, and our class is part of a larger dance school that's mostly children, but we are corralled onto a stage once a year to strut our stuff, to tap dance in front of an audience. And we've done some really fun dances. It's not classic tap dancing to piano music. We dance to really fun tunes and have a great time.
That actually sounds amazing. I feel like tap dance as well, like it takes a serious amount of skill to pull that off. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us.
We like to think it will stop us getting dementia because you have to remember so much so quickly. We think, well, hopefully this is keeping our brains working in a different way.
Maybe I'll need to start tap dance now. I don't
I
think
think
I
we
could
should.
ever actually pull it off, to be honest, Katie.
If I can, you can, Tori, definitely.
So thinking about this role then, what excites you most about stepping into this role come September?
On a personal level, I'm really excited to get that bigger, wider view of what the people that we call Methodists in the northwest of England are doing, and to see the places where similar things are happening, where things are growing, new things are being tried, and hopefully finding where new people are coming to know something of God. I think there's a massive opportunity to make connections between people who are doing similar things or have similar passions in different parts of the regions. And I know that this also means I'm going to be part of some of those conversations I've talked about in our circuit about what the future of the church is going to look like. And at times when we sit and think about our finances and our numbers and the number of ministers, it can seem that we're heading into quite a difficult, maybe even scary place. But a lot of the time, I also got that sense of excitement that God really is bringing something new to birth. And I'm hoping within this role, I can be part of seeing how that's working out, and hopefully part of encouraging people to try things and to see what works, and to be bold in talking about God in the world. I'm also excited about what this opportunity of having a wider scale that the whole northwest of England gives us in terms of opportunities to do things. I'm really passionate to see if we can do some really good quality things online or through media such as podcasts. But I'm also be interested to talk about how we bring people together to maybe just enjoy being part of a bigger gathering in a way that this might enable us to do.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You and I have already spoken actually about podcasting and the digital medium, haven't we? And I'm just so excited to see how that develops. So yeah, that vision just sounds wonderful. So thank you so much. The final question I've got for you today is thinking about mission. What do you kind of hope to achieve in that area as we step into this, A, this role, but also B, as the North West England district?
I think for me, for a long time, we get mission confused with trying to keep our churches going on a sort of self-sustaining level. And I really hope that across the district and in an encouraging role, we can talk about remembering why we are here in the first place as churches, and to bring the gospel to the heart of all we can do. And I think one of the most important things that the church actually does for people is equipping and enabling them to live out their lives, their faith, not just in the church on a Sunday or whenever they gather, but in everything that they do. Romans 12:1-2 is a really key passage which talks about offering everything we're doing to God, the whole of our lives, and also not being conformed to the world's way of doing things. And I know for some people who've been in my churches, they've really talked about church as an important place where they are enabled and equipped and kept sort of on the straight and narrow when they're in really high pressure places in the rest of life. And I hope that we can do that for more people, but perhaps understand that what that will look like for many of the working population now is not what it's looked like getting up to now. Understanding that church is going to look and feel really different, but finding ways to connect people with the heart of it being about living out the gospel, being God's people, being the signs of God's kingdom wherever we go.
Katie, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. I'm sure we'll be hearing and seeing a lot more of you very soon, but in the meantime, please be assured of our continued prayers for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tori.